Hello everyone, welcome to our 8th video. This is our Thing to Give special for Ocean Scouts. If you have watched our 6th video, you might realize that this was a change of plans. But this is going to be an Ocean Scouts special where we're going to be talking all about water pollution. Hi and I, two founders of Ocean Scouts, are going to be talking about water pollution, the different types of water pollution, and how you can help. Now, we should get started. What is water pollution?
Water pollution is when unwanted objects, substances, and chemicals and particles get dumped into bodies of water.
Water pollution is very harmful to the ecosystem and the animals living in those bodies of water. It affects our drinking water and it affects the animals. Water pollution could be one of the reasons why lots of sea animals could go extinct. What are some types of water pollution? One of the different types of water pollution is chemical pollution, which can come from labs or factories. This can be dumped into underground water sources or other bodies of water such as rivers, streams, seas, oceans, or lakes. Chemical pollution is one of the most common water pollutions, and it is extremely harmful to the ecosystem and the wildlife. The chemicals are very toxic and can poison animals and plants. Also, when animals come in contact with the chemicals, it can hurt them and burn their skin. It can also possibly cause internal bleeding. Oil spills is also a form of chemical pollution because the oils from factories contain lots of toxic particles and molecules. And going back to internal bleeding, sometimes animals consume the oil, which causes internal bleeding, the ulcers. Isn't that just terrible? In fact, it can also be harmful to humans. If we ever take a dive into the ocean and we somehow get chemicals into our mouth, it can cause very dangerous diseases and it can harm our body if we take a lot of those toxic chemicals. In fact, it could be fatal if we don't have a proper immunity. And let's be real. We can definitely not survive with an ocean full of chemicals.
Groundwater is another form of chemical pollution and water pollution. It is when fertilizers and other chemicals used to grow crops and get into the soil and into the groundwater, poisoning it and crops, as well as underground animals and humans who might drink groundwater.
This is also very dangerous to the ecosystem. Another type of pollution is microbiological pollution. Microbiological pollution is actually pretty simple and most of the time is from natural causes. Here's the deal. Microbiological pollution is when bacteria, harmful particles from nature, viruses, and diseases get into water. This is toxic because if any human or animal drinks that water, they can get extremely sick. Another form of pollution is nutrient pollution, and this is very similar to microbiological pollution and it's just as simple.
Well, nutrient pollution is when too many nutrients go into the water.
And this can be from fertilizers. Who knew? Now what about oxygen depletion pollution? Well, this one is a little complicated, but let's keep this simple. When oxygen-breathing animals in the ocean need oxygen. They might not always go up into the air. They might take oxygen from other things, such as algae. And you know what happens when that happens? Well, when harmful things that deliver oxygen and are taken by oxygen-breathing animals in the ocean, well, it can pass on some toxic diseases and chemicals. This will also be very dangerous for humans who might breathe in this oxygen when going into the ocean. Now we're going to be talking about a very, very common type of pollution, surface water pollution. And that comes from littering or oil spills and perhaps even plastic pollution, which we will all talk about. Perhaps in other videos too. Now, for surface water pollution, it's when unwanted objects get into the surface water, and that can be very harmful for humans and animals. The objects that get onto the surface water can release some toxic chemicals, and humans who drink that water might get many diseases. And it's the same thing with animals who drink that water. Now, surface water pollution is something that we might all do. Perhaps just throwing away some cigarette butts or a rubber band that can go into streams and rivers and end up on the surface, releasing all the particles and chemicals. It's just so sad because it harms the ecosystem. Now, Kaya is going to be talking a little bit about some type of sub-pollutions in water pollution. These contain oil spills and plastic pollution. What are some types of water pollution?
Plastic pollution is a buildup of plastic objects in the Earth's surface that affect wildlife and their habitats and humans as well.
Now a little bit about plastic pollution from me. Well, plastic pollution, like Haya said, is the buildup of plastic in water. Now, how did this plastic get into the water in the first place? Well, when people throw away plastic into the trash or randomly onto the ground, just littering just like that, well, most of the time it ends up in rivers or streams. Those lead to the lakes and then perhaps to the seas. And then it all the way ends up in the ocean. And sometimes as the plastic is flowing into the ocean, it can get caught up into a gyre of trash. This is called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. There are 5 other patches, but this is the biggest trash gyre in the world. Do you want to know how all that plastic is trapped in those gyres? It's because of the water currents. The water currents trap the trash into this one little area in the ocean. That's really terrible, and it covers too much of the ocean and harms many animals who might mistake it for the plastic for food. What about microplastics? Do you know what those are? Well, microplastics are when plastics break up into teeny weeny pieces into the ocean, and animals actually might mistake them for food because of their bright colors. And when those animals eat the plastic, they can die. And the predators that eat those animals can also die from the plastic in their bodies. And if we eat those predators, then we get plastic in our own bodies. It's pretty terrible, isn't it? And one more thing. Plastic isn't really biodegradable. This means it won't break up and just dissolve into the air and die. It won't do that. In fact, the plastic will just break up over and over again. It might take at least 2,000 years for just the plastic to just go away. Isn't that really, really sad? Now, what about oil spills? What are oil spills?
Oil spills are when harmful oils from factories and industries get dumped into the ocean. Animals get caught in sticky substances where the chemicals harm them and they accidentally consume of oils as well, which causes them to choke or make their ulcers bleed.
Now that we've covered the different types of pollution, what are some solutions? What can we do? Well, for solutions, there are 4 things anyone can do. Now, what is the first thing?
Number 1, not littering. Number 2, throw plastic in recycling bins or tell other people to throw plastic in recycling bins. Number 3, donating to non-profit organizations. Finally, number 4, using cloth bags instead of plastic bags for grocery shopping.
Well, that was all for this video. Hopefully you got to learn about water pollution, the different types of water pollution, and what you can do to stop water pollution now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please make sure to subscribe, like, and share for more. Bye everyone!
Bye!